I'm going to be talking about interviewing. This is when you do your case study with your professional from the industry. Obviously, you need to make sure that you actually choose somebody, and by now you should have hopefully chosen somebody who is involved or has been professionally involved in the genre or the area that you've actually chosen. Preferably speak to them face to face. If not, you might have to do by email. But basically, in the next week, you need to contact them and arrange to meet that person in the next couple of weeks if you're going to meet the deadlines. It's also worthwhile having a backup, as, for example, some interviewees may not be available in the next few weeks. One of the key things is making sure you've got about 4 or 5 or 6 questions to ask. And we'll be looking at, you'll be doing an exercise later at just working through a couple of those, and just state that it will be no more than about 40 minutes, and just the obvious thing about dressing in an appropriate manner and being on time, and just take the courtesy of saying thank you for their time and trouble, because they're giving it for free, and they are professionals when all's said and done. Just a couple of words really about what are open and closed questions. Open questions are those that are who, where, what, when, why, how, and which, I suppose, as well. And closed questions just give a very short yes or no answer, and they're much more clipped. Open questions give you a much more expansive response and a much more in-depth response. So, for example, you actually use them where you want the respondent to think and reflect. However, having said that, obviously it's going to be subjective, because it's giving a feelings and opinions and their view of things as they saw it as at that time. On the closed questions, obviously it's going to give you more facts, which is more objective, but really you need lots and lots and lots of samples in a survey for it to be of real relevance. But of course, they're quick to answer, easy to answer, and closed questions really are for a survey or questionnaire. And just to reiterate, for your one-to-one interview, it's actually preferable to ask open questions so that you can actually get a real sense of what it was like to be there at that time, and they can give you their in-depth opinions and feelings. This is just an example of what you could do, or the kind of, to give you an example of how you could ask the questions. Again, they're all open questions, you'll notice. So just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you relate to this subject. So, for example, if your topic were, is punk dead? ? You'd say, well, how do you relate to punk? And secondly, what are the biggest challenges facing punk today? Might be the next one. And what were the influences that got you into punk, and why did you get into punk? Maybe. Fourthly, how do you see punk developing in the future? And the fifth one, you might or might not want to raise, or something along those lines. I don't think I would in that case. And then 6, what advice would you give someone who is thinking of setting up in punk at the moment? And literally those 5 or 6 questions could get you 40 minutes worth of really good, useful information, which of course you need to record either, preferably by video or audio, or certainly take very good notes so that you can actually include them as an appendix in the back, and use them for gathering quotes and being able to include in your various bits of research. So the exercise I'd like you to do now is just to think about the question that you are trying to answer in your SSI research, and just write a list of 5 or 6 questions that you're actually going to use in your interview, and you shouldn't take more than 10 minutes to do that. And then team up with a buddy and just try your questions out on each other. And the answers are not so important. What's much more important is whether the respondent, your buddy, actually, did they understand the question? Did you get the question? Did you get the sort of answer that you were expecting? Was there some ambiguity that you hadn't thought about? And obviously, if there are ambiguities or problems or the person didn't understand, then you need to think about being able to pose the question in a slightly different manner. And that's basically it for today. Okay, so good luck.